Hey everybody, it's me, Shawnee. I am back for another episode of Becoming. Today I am becoming consecrated. If anyone knows what that means, consecration is when we give up everything, our will, our hopes, dreams, whatever we think we want, for complete surrender and the will of God. It's not about me, it's about God, it's about what He wants, His complete desire for my life, what He wants me to do. It's not about me. I know that the last episode was really heavy. I'm sorry, but not sorry. And, this is the journey that I'm on, so I know there's some heavy days and some easier days. But sometimes I think there's beauty in specifics. It's like you sit in service sometimes and it's like, I know you've gone through some things and I know you've been through some things. We've all been through some things. And it's a nice general statement, but sometimes it's just nice to have your feelings and your experiences acknowledged and validated for the specifics that they are. And so I'm just throwing out some specifics. I've had some specific traumatic events, and I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people who have had similar events happen in their lives, and it's okay to just point out those details. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But what I don't want you guys to think is that I have it together, because this is a journey that I'm on, right? It's becoming something. To become, I know I said this in a previous episode, that to become something, you had to not be that. So to become happy, I had to be sad, right? So this journey today is becoming consecrated. Because, I was selfish. I wanted what I wanted for myself, and I wanted my own dreams to come true. I had my own goals, my own things that I wanted to accomplish for my life, for my kids' lives. But the past few weeks I have felt empty, lost, and very scared. As I've said before, doing this podcast and writing my blog has been very scary and a transparent road to take. But all I could hope was for people to listen to it, to read it, and learn something, even if it was from my mistakes. I wanted people to try God for themselves. Most of us tend to go through things and feel alone or embarrassed, as if no one else in the world could understand or was ever in the same situation. And it's far from the truth. We all go through a lot of the same things, whether we choose to admit it or not, or compare it or not. Logically, I know that, but most days people don't admit it. Most people judge and act as though they can't possibly understand. There's no empathy, no self-reflection, or truth. Truth be told, doing this podcast or writing my blog was something I would have ever chosen for myself, especially not now. I didn't feel like I had anything to say. And I certainly wasn't looking at it as if it was a gift given to me from God. And so these few weeks were hard because I didn't know where to go next. And I felt as if I was in this dark tunnel. One day I had a phone interview with the city to redetermine my application for childcare for my son. And the lady was explaining to me that graduate degree programs weren't an approved activity for the city to continue to pay for daycare. And I haven't been working. So you could see she was trying. She was like, how often do you look for a job? I'm like, sun up to sundown. But she didn't say I was or was not approved. But as soon as we got off the phone, I just immediately broke down because it was like, Lord, I know this may sound simple, but how much stuff can be taken from me? Like, I don't think I can deal with anything else being taken from me. I can't suffer through something else that I can't do, or something else that I don't have. And I cry hard. But in that moment of still crying and still weeping, in my mind and in my heart, I was like, I'm still going to serve you, Lord. I'm still going to do what you asking me to do. I just need a moment. And I got up and I still made the decision, God, I'm going to trust you. I don't understand, but I trust you, even if I got nothing, not a dollar in my pocket. And so I did. And I got up and I went on with my day. I've been concentrating more on seeking God first and letting Him decide what comes next. Because I don't know. I write, I focused on my kids, I go to church as much as possible, given I have no car. I've begun to put myself out there with our church's connect groups and meeting people, trying to form my own village, needless to say. In doing so, I've begun to feel even more out of place, as if my thinking is just weird. And I'm not sure I know where my place is. I know what I want to be able to do. But I'm scared to move because I'm scared to get it wrong. Having spiritual gifts is great. And I know sometimes I can look at somebody and be like, I want to be able to pray this for you. I want to be able to help you with this. But I don't know how to approach somebody. I'm like, I don't want to, go pray something and be like, God said, and God up there like, no, I said absolutely no such thing. So I also want to be sure that I'm not doing anything for my glory, but for God alone. It's for His glory. But how? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to look to or be friends with? It was so many questions, no answers, and I felt super lost. No one to support me, no one to ask these questions to. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I feel so alone. And one big incident that bothered me this week was I had joined 2 connect groups in my church. It's something that is heavily promoted at my church, that people join they join these connect groups with a common interest or goal to meet with other people in the church. And I wanted to join because I didn't know anyone, and I thought it was this perfect opportunity to learn something or begin to meet more people in this big church. It's a bigger church than what I was used to. In the smaller church that I grew up in, it wasn't super small, but if someone new visits, you knew that they were new and they had never been there before. But in this church, it's really easy to miss someone who's been going for a while, let alone someone who's new. And so I was like, I'll join a connect group. So anyways, I joined a connect group, 2 different connect groups actually. And one of the connect groups, I attended the group twice on Zoom, and the leader of the group taught. And so I'm such a big supporter of everything women that I was so excited to get to know other women and begin to build more positive friendships, because I haven't had too many positive female friendship experiences. Not long term. Most times I feel betrayed, unsupported, or there's some underlying insecurity or jealousy issue. I don't know how many women will actually admit it, but women can be so catty. so jealous and so petty. You just like, oh my gosh, we're both women. We're probably going through the same thing. I don't feel like I should have to compete with you. I feel like we should support and help each other. And having that passion for women being that way was like, okay, ooh, a woman group. I would love to join a woman group. And I did. I also joined a writing connect group, which I thought was perfect with me starting to write a blog. So I thought it would be a good way to connect with other writers in the church. It's not too often that you find people who genuinely love to write and can support you that way and learn from them, receive some encouragement. And it also gave me some time once a week to just set aside to just focus on just that, just writing. So my writing group has actually been super amazing. The support and encouragement are something that I need in this moment to continue this writing process. Also, supporting me to do a podcast. Most times that, I'm in the writing group, I encourage people to read it and give me feedback. But I also encourage some to read it because they seem to be battling the same things I am, and I feel that my podcast or the blog would help. I do feel a bit insecure and occasionally have people who are saved, and having people who are saved say it does make sense and it's not wrong feels so good, but I wasn't receiving it all the time. In fact, one day I actually was brave enough to ask one of the founding pastors to read it. I had never met this woman before in my life. I hadn't been at the church long, and I just walked up to her and she was so sweet. I tried to explain to her what I needed the best way I could. She was so supportive. I just needed some world-like confirmation because it's like, I know this is coming from God, but let me just dot my I's, cross my T's. Only having met her once and it being the first time I met her and I'm asking for something, it was so amazing to see just how happy she was to help. And she printed out the manuscript for the blog and she read it. She hand wrote the notes, and which wasn't many. She mainly asked me to write specifically the Bible scriptures where I found them instead of, just the book. But when she brought back this manuscript, she was amazed. She was like, you have a story to tell, and I'm going to do wonderful things. She said some other things, but it was like 3 sentences. And in 3 sentences, she confirmed, she supported, and she encouraged me to move forward and gave me what to pray for next. It put a little bit of pep in my step. I'm not going to hold you. So, moving on. During my second week of being a part of these connect groups, one connect group in particular, which was the women's group, this connect group, the leader began to teach. The teaching ended. We were able to share our thoughts on what we learned, like what we took from it, what we took from the lesson. And I listened to all these insecurities of these women and things that they felt like they were dealing with. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like a little comforted. Like, I'm not the only one going through these things. I was surprised. I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. And so I waited until the absolute end of the group and of the meeting. And I shared with them that I'm currently writing a blog about my journey. Like, I would love for you guys to read it. Let me know what you think. I think it could help with what, we're all going through. I thought it could help. I wanted to help. I wanted to encourage. A connect group once a week is great, but we all have daily struggles. And with the leader teaching, something specific each week. It's not like you have this space to say, look guys, I had a rough week, and be able to vent and talk about it, and pray for that thing, and to encourage each other on, daily struggles, trauma, or something that we're dealing with collectively. And I thought this was a way to attack those specifics, right? Acknowledge those specifics of things that we're going through, and provide feedback. Um, Not to mention, sometimes we are a little insecure and guarded. So I thought the blog for, this class is very relevant and helpful. After I shared it, almost 2 weeks had passed when I received an email from the Connect group leader expressing that they wanted to talk to me. And so in the call, we got on a Zoom call, and they shared that they didn't agree with me sharing my blog on their platform. I should have asked first so that they could take the time to confirm it was something that they could support. They explained it was not something that they do, but this was the first time that this had happened, so they didn't know they needed to put it on their list of rules of things not to do. They continue with, maybe this isn't the Connect group for you. Maybe you need to start your own Connect group. I hope you come back, they said, but we just don't allow the promotion because everybody can do that, and I just don't know you that well for you to have promoted this blog on my platform. And I don't think anyone else would have been okay with you doing so on their platform either. So during the conversation, it was confirmed that they had not read my blog. So they didn't know what was on it, but that they just would have liked me to ask prior to promoting it, because they didn't want it to seem as though they were promoting something that could be inappropriate or wrong. And so I'm, kind of taken back. I didn't expect this to be the conversation, but I was immediately apologetic. Like, I explained that I wasn't trying to interrupt or overstep. I just thought it would help, and I thought it was relevant. My thought process would never be in the direction of interrupting someone's platform. I would have never thought that these Connect groups were meant for that purpose. I did share with them that I would have never looked at Connect groups as someone's platform. And so they asked if I felt I was able to share and have a space in their group, and I admitted to them, I'm still finding my way. I don't know how much of myself I can be around people. I share when I'm allowed to share, but talking about my blog isn't something that I usually do. I was scared that I was wrong, and I wanted to be sure that it was okay, especially with someone in leadership, before I quote unquote promoted anything. So I wanted the Connect group leader to understand that self-promotion was far from my mind. It's not like I'm benefiting from it. I'm not getting paid from it. I even, went to the co-founder, one of the pastors, to read it, and they didn't say anything was wrong with it. In fact, she said that the co-pastor said that she loved it. I wanted the Connect group leader to understand that there was nothing wrong with it, that they were not promoting anything bad. After I reassured them, that's when the Connect group leader wrote down the information for the blog to look into it. So after the conversation ended, I felt horrible. My spirit just would not settle. I just couldn't agree with the nature of the conversation and the things that were said, and it just kept replaying in my mind. Even though I was apologetic, I still felt uneasy. So we had a conversation on a Monday. By Thursday, I felt like I was just even more disturbed by the whole thing. I felt sad, not completely for myself, but I kept thinking, if this was a conversation that occurred with someone new or someone who was newly saved, how would a new member feel? And people are so very, very easily deterred from the church from experiencing, like, what people call church hurt. Like, I'm not easily deterred because I'm secure enough in my relationship with God and understanding how things work, and that people can't easily sway me. But not everyone is like that, because they put a very high standard on people who are saved and are in the church. I know people are people, but, we still have responsibilities. So my concern was, who comes next? But I'm also thinking, maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. So by the next week that the Connect group was supposed to meet again, I didn't even feel comfortable attending anymore. Actually, it was that same week. So we had the conversation on Monday. The Connect group was supposed to meet again on Wednesday. I didn't go. I was just like, I don't know what to do. I feel uneasy. I don't feel comfortable anymore. And so I called, two people I know for sure are always going to give me some insight to myself and try to help me evaluate how I feel about it, which is my sister and my mother. Which I did understand the leadership perspective. Like, not everyone else is saved, and not everyone has good intentions. So I understand wanting to protect the people in your group and making sure that proper content is advertised. And so I understand that as a leader, you don't want to seem as though you're supporting the wrong thing. And so I did understand that fully, and that was the part that I was apologetic about. I guess I could have asked for permission to mention the blog, to share it with anyone else in the group. I think what bothered me the most after almost 2 weeks of the Connect group leader having time to think about and process the information that was provided, they didn't indulge in the information. They never even looked at the blog to determine if the content was appropriate or inappropriate, relevant or irrelevant. It didn't feel like the conversation came from a place of love, guidance, and support. I didn't like the word platform. It's a connect group. So I was like, but it's not a platform group. It's a connect group. So the idea is to connect and to get to know each other. She kept saying, I don't know you well enough. Had you read the blog and got the information needed, you would have gotten to know just a little bit more. I think the idea in my head was, this is a connect group. We're supposed to get to know each other, share our gifts, support common goals, interests, and to, connect. That just my thought process. And so it was like, I didn't feel like it should have been considered a platform. I understand wanting to teach and connect, but I also understood wanting to protect. But as a new person, how was I supposed to know that I needed permission to share my gift or my talent with other people? How do we give people the space to begin to learn what could or needed to be fixed within themselves, even if there was something wrong, if we don't allow them to be vulnerable to make the mistake? As a new person to the group, it was like I was watching the leaders share and promote their channels and services outside of the Connect group. So it was like, well, why didn't I think I could share my own? Like, I didn't think, this is my pastor teaching me. Like, it, a Connect group seemed more peer related. So it was kind of discouraging because during the conversation, the leader didn't support or guide, teach, encourage, because they didn't provide themselves with enough content to even know what to say outside of, well, we don't do that here. Well, what do you do? And how do you know it's something that you don't do if it's never happened before? By the time the conversation was done, they ended up opening the door for me feeling uncomfortable to return by insinuating maybe it wasn't the Connect group for me, and was recommending other places for me to go without insight. So it was like, well, you haven't read the blog, so you don't even know you still don't know if it's appropriate or inappropriate. But you're telling me, take it somewhere else or start my own. But you still don't know. So you're basically telling me that you're protecting your group from possible inappropriate or irrelevant material that you still don't know if it is inappropriate, wrong, or irrelevant, and encouraging me to take it somewhere else or start my own. So it was just kind of like, I don't even feel comfortable being a part of the Connect group anymore, even if I did or didn't do anything wrong. But even if I did do something wrong, you didn't use this as the space to teach me what I had done wrong and what to do with it. And I feel like this is how people end up feeling rejected. And so my heart was sad, not for myself, but because God forbid anyone else had been made to feel rejected. And it was hard to explain this to other people when people kept asking me, like, it sounds like you're upset, like you feel rejected. I was like, no, I feel confident now. Like, now that I absolutely know that what I did was not wrong, I'm not, like, I've already apologized for my part in it, but I just don't like the steps that were taken as a result of it, and I'm thinking about the next person. If this is what kind of leader that you are, I'm concerned because I don't want anyone else to feel rejected. I don't want anyone else to feel like it's a place that they don't feel comfortable enough to make a mistake, to discover what their gift could have possibly been and have it nurtured, guided, encouraged, because it didn't happen the way people felt it should have been presented, and then they reject it, and the person goes, well, I don't want to be here anymore. And so my mother was like, maybe it's got something more to do with you and less to do with the leader of the Connect group. And so it's like, you know, I know what it's like to feel rejected. I know what it's like to feel alienated. Who hasn't? Most people have. But I knew that even with that experience, I truly wasn't sad for myself. I don't know how else to explain it. Everybody was like, it's you. It truly was the idea of someone else being made to feel that way. And I would never want to contribute to someone else feeling that way. And the idea of that happening made me sad. I don't want to operate that way. I don't like seeing people sacrifice one for the many. I care about the few, and I care about the many. And I believe everyone should feel seen and be heard. I understand we need to protect, but how do we protect from a place of love and guidance rather than just rebuking someone? So this situation was very eye-opening to me. I know everybody's like, what's the point in this story? It does have a point. I promise. Hold on. Okay? I will say it was very eye-opening me because I have been put in a lot of situations lately that it's hard to explain, like, why I'm perturbed. Like, it was such a simple situation, but I was genuinely bothered. Like, I just could not let it go. And people assume that it's me, that it's a problem with me that I'm feeling offended or bothered, and I'm trying to reassure them, like, I'm not, because of me. And so my mother gave me advice. She was like, don't say anything to the Connect group leader, because I didn't, because initially I didn't want to. I felt blindsided, and I didn't have a chance to think about, to process, and express my concerns. And I didn't want to just disappear from the Connect group without offering some sort of explanation. And so my mother said it may end up being like a push and pull situation between us, and I felt that it was just best to just be quiet. So I didn't go to the Connect group the next time they met. I just didn't feel comfortable. So I prayed. I needed some insight into what I was feeling and why I was feeling that way. And in my prayer, I admitted to God, I feel lost. Like, I feel lost. Like, I don't even know why I feel the way that I feel. I'm feeling like I don't even know myself. Like, am I doing these things or having these reactions because of my own emotions? Like, is what I'm hearing true, that I'm the one with the issue? Is there some unresolved hurt or trauma? Like, what is it? Who am I? Is it really about other people, or is it about me? And so after I prayed, God told me, you're a blank canvas. That's my God voice, but basically he was telling me I was a blank canvas, and that's all I heard. I was like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, now what? I'm a blank canvas of what? Like, I'm empty? Like, you saying I'm empty? There's nothing there? Like, what you trying to say? Alright. Okay. So the next morning, which was that Thursday morning, I got up, I went to therapy, and I love my therapist. I love how God uses my therapist to show me. And she shows me this therapeutic emotional wheel. Of course, I can't like show you a picture of it, but it's this color-coded emotional wheel with the 6 basic feelings of fear, anger, disgust, sadness, happiness, and feeling surprised. But behind those words are more words that describe this feeling. So let's take sadness, for example. The reasons why you might feel sad is because you feel guilty, you feel abandoned, despair, depressed, lonely, or bored. And so it breaks down even those a little bit more. Maybe you feel sad because you feel guilty. Why do you feel guilty? Because you feel remorseful and ashamed. You're sad because you're abandoned and you feel abandoned and despair. Well, why do you feel abandoned and despair? Because maybe you're ignored, you're victimized, you're powerless, or you're vulnerable. And so it does that for each one. So for happy, you have joyful. Why are you joyful? Maybe because you feel liberated and ecstatic. Anger. I'm angry because I feel hurt. Why do you feel hurt? Because I'm devastated or embarrassed. I feel threatened. Why? Because I'm insecure. I'm jealous. It's just, it breaks your emotions down. That's the best way I can explain it. So my therapist is explaining to me that she's never seen me break down these emotions since we started therapy. Until recently, she tells me in the past, all of my emotions look the same. When I have been emotionally distraught, I laugh and shrug it off. When she see me say like I'm extremely angry and pissed off, I laugh and I shrug it off. When I've been happy, when I've been scared, every emotion, she's like, you just laugh and shrug it off. And so she was asking me, well, who are you now? Like, how do you feel right now? And I'm like, I don't know. And so as I said, I don't know, I began to explain to her these situations I had been experiencing lately and how I was feeling. And so I explained to her, like, there was a lady in church. I wanted to pray for her in a wheelchair, and I didn't because I was scared. And so I broke down fear. Why was I scared? And I felt insecure. And she was like, why did you feel insecure? And so I look at the wheel, and it says I felt inferior or inadequate, which is true. I did. But I also felt scared and anxious because I was worried about what other people would think. But after I worked through the fear, I felt sad. And she was like, you went from fear to sadness? And I said, yes. Then I explained to her the situation with the Connect group leader. And I said, I was confused. She said, why were you confused? And I said, I was confused because I was disillusioned. I was perplexed. And so we're breaking down these emotions, but all of them, I couldn't help but say, I felt sad. And she was like, everything keeps coming back to sad. Like, why do you feel sad? And so I'm looking at this emotional wheel, and I'm looking at all the words that apply to sadness. Guilty, abandoned, despair, depressed, lonely, bored. And so I said, I feel sad because I feel despair. And I felt despair because I felt powerless. And I was like, ooh, I need to sit in there for a moment. Like, why I felt powerless. So I sat in it. I left therapy. I was like, I need to think about it. And so Thursday night, I still hadn't gotten a firm answer from anyone, from God. Like, I was still confused as to what I could have done differently, why this Connect group situation was really bothering me. And so I was like, duh, let me ask somebody in the church who's been here for a while. Let me get more insight into what the rules of the church were. Maybe, like, I was just absolutely wrong. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just kept my mouth shut. And so another leader in the church, I love her. Like, I just love them. And so, very sweet, very honest, very forthcoming. And we ride together once a week to go to church. And I asked them, without explaining the situation, hey, what's the purpose of the Connect groups? And so they answered, and the conversation that we had led me to understand, like, I wasn't wrong. They explained that the Connect groups were essentially to make a big church seem smaller, for people to meet, to get to know each other, to form these local communities. Gave me a little bit more insight on how they first started, that initially people were meeting because they lived close together. Then I explained the situation, and they didn't seem to think I was wrong. Like, they understood my concern. And they was like, I'm going to speak to somebody about it. And I was like, whoa. I'm really not trying to make it a big thing. I just wanted to understand, like, if I was wrong. Like, I don't want this to become like a thing. Like, I just got here. Like, I barely know anybody. I'm not trying to be that person. But in that moment, God gave me insight. And so this podcast so far, the blog so far, has been focused on things that needed to be changed. I needed to heal. I needed to be broken from past traumatic experience, from hurt and bad habits. But I got to a place that I finally submitted and told God, not my will, but your will. And it gave him the opportunity to do what he needed to do, which was turn me into a blank canvas. To remove everything that wasn't like him. And that meant for him to change everything I thought I was or was supposed to be. So no wonder I felt lost. I'm a blank canvas. Ain't nothing on it right now in this moment. And he said, it's okay for you to feel lost because you are. I'm building. And so where I was in this process of losing everything I've been comfortable with for 35 years, all the hurt, the trauma that I've been holding on to keep me comfortable and hold me tight at night, all the hurt, he was like, yeah, we just gonna throw all that out. And now, in understanding these things that needed to be changed, he was finally giving me insight to the things that I was able to keep. And so I had this image of words written on a blank paper. So just imagine like a blank sheet of paper. And it's some words written in green, some red. It's painted all sloppy and it's thrown everywhere. And what's written in red is bad, and what's written in green is some of it's good. And God just erased everything off this canvas. Like He just gave me a clean slate so that He could write what is and change what needs to be. And so I just saw these green words being rewritten on this blank canvas so neatly. Loving, caring, giving, forgiving, selflessness, mercy, patience, and empathy. And these were some of the words. And so here this word, powerless. I'm like, I just felt so powerless. And I felt powerless all my life. I realized I've always felt powerless. When people betrayed me and took things from me without my permission, men took my virtue and my innocence, and I didn't do anything. Being raped and molested took my power and my voice. I felt powerless when I was abused, when men beat me and kicked me and spit on me and shamed me. I felt powerless when I couldn't fight for my children. I felt powerless when I couldn't leave. I felt powerless when my voice wasn't heard, or I'm not seen, when I'm too passive to speak up because I'm considerate of how it'll make other people feel. I felt powerless when I couldn't stand up for myself, and I felt powerless when I was a child and I was always taught you should keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. You really just should have said nothing. It was okay for them to do that to you because you did something wrong to make them do it. Even as a child, like, you just shouldn't have. It was always, well, it was you. You were this and you were that. You were infuriating. It was always something that just made me feel like, no, I'm not. But I kept my mouth shut. I felt powerless when homeless people would walk past my car and I had nothing to give. Like, that genuinely makes me sad. When I have nothing to give, it makes me feel powerless when someone's hungry and I can't feed them. When people come up to you and they're in desperate need and I have nothing, it makes me feel so powerless. It makes me feel inadequate. And I felt powerless to just be myself, because I never felt like I could be myself with anyone, authentically me, whether it was goofy, whether it was angry, whether it was sad. I didn't even feel like I could be sad. I had to deal with those emotions by myself, because when I shared those emotions with other people, it always felt like it was rejected. You don't get like an empathetic response. It's still something I'm working on every day. And so God told me that He was erasing the word powerless. It was gone. And He was replacing it with the word advocator. Supporter. Someone who encourages. And it blew my mind, because it's amazing how God will take our past, our experiences, our trauma, and use it for His glory. And I spent so many years feeling as though I could not fight for myself, and here I am learning not only to fight for myself, because it's so funny, the issue did become just a little too big for, than I thought it should. One of the leaders of the Connect group, like, they were a leader over the Connect group leaders, I guess, and they said to me, you need to also learn to advocate for yourself. And so I did. I was finally put in a position to share how I felt with the Connect group leader. But it feels good to know and when I don't have to fight for myself. God fights for me. But He's also given me the strength to be able to advocate and intercede for other people who don't feel seen, or who don't feel heard, or who don't know how or have the strength for themselves. God has given me the heart to pursue that one who people may ignore, overlook, or may not consider. God gave me the heart to pursue the sad, the brokenhearted, the powerless, the victimized, or ignored. Because I have felt that way all of my life. You know, it's hard when you've never felt that way. It's hard to consider people like that. And I didn't think it was like a huge thing, because when I pledged a sorority a few years ago, my line, they gave me the line name Inclusive, because I was always upset that somebody could have possibly not been included, or that we didn't consider their feelings. And so it feels good that, you know, even in those moments, my true nature was seen just a little bit. But even then, it almost felt like that mindset was still rejected. Like, oh no, let's just take a vote. And majority rules. And I'm like, we're just not going to ignore the people who aren't here, who aren't able to vote or to have their voices heard. It feels good to know that I have been given the strength to advocate for change and not conform to these normalcies of what we think it should be versus what God intended. And sometimes that may make me feel separated, weird, or threatening to the wrong people, and that's okay. That is okay. God gave me the strength to love, to be empathetic, to see others differently. And at first I couldn't understand why He gave that to me. And so I was like, why would you give this gift to me other than I've been through it? And God told me to actually reread the prayer cards that I wrote in my prayer board for New Year's. So, I don't know, I think I mentioned it in my previous episodes, where I started year 2024 with a prayer board, December 30th. It's actually on my TikTok. Go look at it. Where you see me making this prayer board. It was super pretty. And then on December 31st, I went into the new year writing these prayers on these index cards to put in my prayer board. And it had different categories of myself, finances, faith. And God told me to reread the prayer cards. And I have this envelope on the prayer board that says answered. And so God was telling me to reread them and put the ones that were answered in the answered one. So obviously He's telling me some prayers that I prayed for have been answered. And so I read the first card, and the first card said, Dear God, thank you for letting the year of 2024 be the year that I am trusted with favor. I pray that everything in me, despite mistakes, for I am not perfect, can at least be trusted to represent you well. Thank you for the confidence and peace to not need anyone else's validation but yours alone, because I can trust you wholeheartedly to handle all my problems, worries, and any situation. Thank you for growth and the opportunity to spread your glory and goodness through my testimony of what you have done and continue to do for me. Let my empathy, kindness, and willingness to help others show others who you are through me. Thank you for patience to deal with others and love them as you do, and to accept new perspectives in Jesus' name. And so I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I asked for it. I literally asked for what I was becoming. Like, I literally pray that God allow my empathy and kindness and my willingness to help other people show God through me. And that's literally who Jesus was. Jesus literally explains that as a shepherd, he will follow that one lost sheep. He will abandon the 99 to go get that one. And I asked him to give me the ability to love people as he does and have the patience to do it. I prayed to be able to spread his glory and goodness through my testimony of what he has done for me. And I'm writing it and podcasting it. So I'm like, why did you give me this gift? He like, you prayed for it, dummy. Well, he didn't call me a dummy, but I'm just saying. And so another card, for example, dear God, thank you for healing and restoring relationships with my children and my family. Heal each of my children from known and unknown trauma, hurt, and experiences. Heal their mind, body, and soul according to Psalm 103, verses 3 through 5, and Jeremiah 30:17. Make me a better parent each and every day of 2024. And so a few days ago, I posted a video on social media of my kids and I wrestling and playing. And I reflected on how far we've become. I mentioned it in previous episodes that my 12-year-old had an abusive dad. My 16-year-old has had to see me deal with physical and emotional abuse. She too has had to deal with it. And so they've both been tormented by a lot of experiences. This time last year, like, whew, my Phoenix was emotionally just a lot. She was still being emotionally tormented by the effects of her father. My teenager was acting crazy. And to see how far we've come and how healthy and amazing that they're doing. They weren't with me for years. It's been a long time since I've had all four of my children together at the same time, and now all four of them live with me. Like, yeah, you answered my prayer. When I wrote that card, my oldest daughter was still living in Georgia with her father. In January, I'm going into the new year praying to become a better mother. And by March 2nd, I wrote the blog, Becoming a Mother. Like, that is crazy. So here's a couple of other cards. Dear God, thank you for making me a new creature in you. I ask that all 2024 and beyond, you mold me according to Ezekiel 36:26 with a new heart and new spirit. Another card, dear God, sustain me in my salvation and remove from me anything that is not like you. Dear God, thank you for the restoring of my life according to your word. Thank you for revival. Dear God, thank you for healing my mind, my spirit, my body from known and unknown traumas, hurt, experiences. All these things I prayed. Like, I prayed for revival. I asked him to be blessed and broken, and he did just that. He placed in me a new spirit, a new heart, and has begun to reveal things to me and prepare me for more to come. I got like a lot more cards, and I've just been putting them in the answered And I'll get to that in my next one. It's called Becoming Restored. It's coming. It's coming. But seriously, if you go look at my TikTok page, at Monique Shawnee, you will see the video that I created on December 30th, 2023. And reading these cards and how it shows up in my blogs and in these episodes, it's mind-blowing. I knew that there was a God that answers prayers, but I didn't think he answered mine. I ain't gonna lie to you. There was a time that I didn't think God answered my prayers, but time and time again, he proves that he's my God, that he does answer my prayers. It's not just a God that, like, you pick up a Bible and you read about. He's not just, what we hear all the time, the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, or the God of David. He's not just the God that I pray to because it's the right thing to do. Like, I can literally wholeheartedly stamp my name on it. He's Shawnika's God too. Like, he's my God. My prayers match this journey as I've been experiencing it, writing about it, podcasting about it. Like, I was absolutely amazed. And I'm even more amazed because on the TikTok, right, December 31st, a stranger who I don't know commented on the prayer board video. And they were like, if you do this, it would inspire you to write even deeper. And I ignored the comment at the time because I was like, I'm not writing anything. Like, I'm building a prayer board. Like, what are you even talking about? And so I go back as I'm reading these cards and I'm putting all this information together. And I'm like, in February, I started writing. With almost like 10 chapters, now 10 episodes. And so it confirms, like, the entire experience of becoming like God and operating in the Spirit, and the Spirit disrupting your flesh-like thinking. It was this video. The person asked me to watch this video. And when I tell you this video that this person asked me to watch confirmed all of my blog entries, all of my podcast episodes, and then it was confirming what I was going through next, which was consecration. So, let's finally get into, the consecration part of it. So, I love people. I enjoy people. I'm playful and goofy, and I love to joke. I, truly believe I am hilarious. I don't know if you've ever talked to me for too long. I think I'm funny. Phoenix has asked me, several times, Mom, do you think you're funny? I'll be like, I'm hilarious. Give her the same answer. I have multiple talents. In my confusion back then, I was here, there, and everywhere. I wanted to sing. I wanted to dance. I wanted to do hair. I wanted to get my master's in business. I'm in my master's in marriage and family therapy. I love to build and do carpentry. I'm a writer. I'm an art. I like art. I like art. I'm artistic. I love to learn. Because of my experiences, I've been forced to learn so much information. The court system, fighting in court for the last 10 years. I can tell you how to fill out court documentation, I tell you that. But anyways, I am brilliant. I will say that wholeheartedly and not feel like I'm being braggadocious. I do believe that God has given me a brilliant mind and I can do anything I put my mind to. I give my love and dedication to whatever or whoever it is that needs me. I'm not too humble to put my all into something small. I went to become, what do you call it? One of them Instacart drivers. And when I tell you that I would grocery shop for people and have, my whole kit, it was a new job for me. I got, the whole setup to just be on the road shopping for people. I will stand there an extra 10 minutes to wait for somebody to respond to me to make sure I got what they wanted in groceries. I was like, I'm not about to play about their food. I take this seriously. Like, I just give my all to things. Like, I love people. I love to nurture, and I love to see growth in children, homes, businesses, processes, people. If my experiences have taught me that I'm strong and resilient, I am patient and I am kind, and I will give you my last, sometimes even my first. And that's just now getting to sometimes, because at first I was giving people my first. It took a lot of therapy. My therapist was like, ma'am, like, no, you got to protect yourself. But I love to give because I love seeing people happy. Like, if I can give it to you, I will do my best to absolutely give it to you. I'm still learning healthy boundaries. I am forgiving. I learned all this to say, like, in God, I will become a mender of broken things and people, because I don't see them as broken. And because I don't see them as broken, I see the potential in the broken as God intended. I'm saying all this because in this consecration process, God was giving me insight to who I was. Like, who I am. Sorry, not was. Who I am. Because for so long I was lost. Like, I was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am without all these traumas and experiences and things that happened to me, and what are these emotions. And now he's telling me, this is who you are. There's still some things we got to get through and some things that need to be cleaned up, but he will definitely tell you this is still some unhealing you got to work through, but this is why you feel that way. And I've just gotten to the point where, like, now I even do it, like, in the physical, in my mind, but I will also, like show myself doing it. Like, I'll take how I feel and, like, put it in this airbag and be like, okay, God, it's yours. Like, you deal with that. Like, you deal with the emotional part. I'm handing it over to you. I'm making a decision to forgive who needs to be forgiven, but I'm going to need you to do, like, your miracle working power to let my emotions reflect that. I'm going to hand it over to you. Here you go. Because I don't have to. You do it. Thank you. But it's nice to know, like, I don't give up on loving the broken. And I see that now, even in living in sin, where I was forgiving people and seeing the best in them for the wrong people at the wrong times. But all in all, it was just who I was. I love, like, simple stuff, like taking old furniture and making something new. Like, it just genuinely makes me happy to take a piece of wood, like old pallets, and design something, like, super new, or an old dresser, and, like, making it some new fascinating thing. But God knew my heart's cry and knew where he would take me when I made the decision in the beginning of the new year, praying for him to change me. God knew he would call me to write when I made the prayer board. So much so that a random person confirmed it before I had even started. I just feel like it's been an amazing journey to see where I was to who I am now and getting here. God was motivated by love to pay the price for you, for me, which was the death of his son. And in truth, there is only one way to repay that love, which is to give him all of yours, to love him unconditionally until the end of time. He's looking for the return on his investment. And he didn't ask us to be worthy before he paid that price. He's such a gentleman. I love it. But what is he getting with the price that he paid? And I had to think about that for myself. I just didn't want to live right. I wanted to become his vessel to do his bidding, which is what consecration is. And without consecration, we are actually unreasonable. We want to do what we want to do. We want to take the resources that God has given us and use them for what we want to. We want to be successful. We want to pursue our passions. We want to be who we want or who we think we should be. You want to go ahead and start your own business. God said, hold on, I've been trying to make you a teacher because you're good with kids for years. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there. Me personally, I chose to reject the life that I chose for me and make me the resource. Because truth be told, God has the perfect plan for me. And that's what faith is. That is what I prayed for last year. I wanted blind faith. I wanted to be able to trust God, not with just the things that I wanted, not just the things that made me happy and made me comfortable, but even with the things that made me uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, he would hold no good thing from me. So here I am thinking I want one thing. God's like, no, not that, but this. It's never just a no. It's like, not this. Because when you become consecrated, your heart aligns. So you should want the things that God wants. And so I said, God, I choose to make me and my resources available to you at your disposal. At your disposal. Tongue-tied. At your disposal. Romans 6:18 and Romans 6:22 says, when we become free from sin, we are enslaved to righteousness, enslaved to God. Romans 12:1 urges us to present our bodies a living sacrifice unto God, to present it holy and pleasing, because it is our reasonable service. Like, it is literally the least we could do. My gifts, my talents, my resources, my knowledge, all these things that I have learned, they're not mine. They were given to me by God to be in His service, and now I am choosing to give it back to Him. But it requires a shift in your mindset. Only the Spirit of God can transform you to shift the way that you think, because the way you think is calibrated to the ways of the world. And God gave me these understandings in pieces. Like, when I did Becoming Like God and learning to operate in the Spirit, was because my thinking was changing. Here I was thinking that I was weird. He's like, no, here's a little piece. You have to become like God to learn to imitate me and learn to operate in the Spirit, to be guided by me so that I could be consecrated. When you learn to obey the Spirit of God and to be guided by God and to imitate His way of doing things in obedience, becoming consecrated, you become trusted with the thoughts, the mindset of who God truly is. I thought I was weird. Like, I'm like, my thinking's not weird. Like, when I went through that whole situation with the Connect group leader, I was like, I really think I'm weird. People kept saying it's like me. I discovered that my mind has been renewed. Reading the Bible gave me the knowledge, but not the understanding. And there is a firm difference. Like, you can read a book and get the knowledge, but until you can, like, do what the knowledge is teaching you, then you don't fully understand. The Bible says God doesn't give me the spirit of fear, but I be scared. What does peace and a sound mind really look like in the midst of scary moments? We can say, oh, we're not supposed to have the spirit of fear. But when we in a scary moment, are you scared? Because I'd be scared. I'd be like, I don't understand. In that moment, I don't understand how not to be afraid. That's a natural emotion. Like, how do you not be afraid? But the truth is, you're allowed to be afraid. But God gives you peace and a sound mind. Consecration meant that I was beginning to be trusted with knowing God's heart as He knows mine. Like reading the Bible gives us knowledge, but becoming consecrated gives us an understanding. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is good, pleasing, and the perfect will of God." The things that bother God is supposed to bother me, because I have now aligned my heart with God's. I'll begin to know when to stand, when to sit down, when to go, when to walk away, when to run, and when to do absolutely nothing. My life will tell a different story and manifest a different language than that of the world. The world says be self-centered and self-seeking. And when you are, God will disappoint you because it's not about you. It's a bigger picture here. It's not about you. And consecration requires a selfless perspective, because when you become a carrier of the Word of God, it's not just a book. We all know the Bible is not just a book. It's God's thoughts. And you must be selfless to be trusted with His thoughts. Like, yes, there are stories, but these stories reveal the way God thinks. And if you're not aligned with the Spirit of God, you can't learn what He truly meant in these passages and what He thought. You can interpret it how you want it, how it fits you, how it fits your perspective. And it says, no, you got to be selfless. I don't think I've ever felt so proud to be selfless before in my life. It's like, I don't have to listen to people tell me, no, you got to protect yourself. I don't have to. Like, when I did Becoming Loved and, like, realizing that God is my friend and He is protective, that I can be selfless because God protects me, I don't feel bad no more. So I just made it in my daily prayer to ask God, what can I do for you today? Like, you're already doing everything else. What can I do for you? We get so consumed with asking God for things that when was the last time you just sat down and said, God, when can I be of service to you? And that goes beyond just going to church and praising Him and worshiping Him. Yeah, that's nice, but we still have a goal. There's still something that God has to use you to do. What are you doing? And it was hard to explain to people when I would say, like, I'm genuinely not upset for myself. I'm upset for the people who come after me. And putting it all together over my experiences over the last few months, it just makes so much sense. That God gave me a vision one day of, through me being a mother. And in this vision, I experienced true sadness of what it feels like when my children, all 4 of my children, are in a dangerous situation and they have to get to me. And my 2 oldest make it, but my 2 babies don't. My 2 youngest don't. And I'm like, why weren't you holding their hand? Where are they? And my 2 oldest kids are explaining to me that they didn't make it. They're going to die. I'm going to try to hold in this cry as I get this story out. And I could imagine the amount of emotions that could flood me in that moment. Like, yes, I'm happy that my 2 older children didn't die. but I'm also looking at them with slight disappointment. Like, why did you let their hands go? Why didn't you lead them to me? You were responsible for your two youngest children. My two youngest, you were responsible for your two younger siblings. What happened? Why didn't you do what I told you to do? And then the ultimate sadness of knowing that my two younger children are dead. And God told me that's how he feels with us. That when we are saved and as we become more mature in Christ, it is our responsibility to lead the younger ones to him. It is our job to get them to safety. And we're so consumed with our own lives, with our own safety, what we want to do, how we want to do it, that we're letting so many hands go. And I can only imagine the guilt I would feel when that day comes and God looks at me and says, you didn't do what I asked you to do. Because you didn't. 4 people are dead. 4 people aren't sitting at this table. And that's what I was trying to explain to people, that when I am upset, I am not upset for me. I am genuinely upset for other people, for something or someone else. And some people who knew me said it's probably about you because of the things that you've been through. And that's true. You're right. It is because of the things that I've been through. I once was broken. But now that I'm healed, what do I look like not weeping for those who are still broken? I don't like knowing that I'm serving a God who gives them, who is waiting to give them what they need. And how do I go on with my day knowing that I can't I just choose not to help you with that? That would make me feel horrible. I cry a lot, and sometimes they aren't my tears. I literally cry for other people. Sometimes I cry because some things in this world are painful to see. Sometimes I cry because I think, what can I do? I will be honest, it was not easy getting to this place, because that means understanding that the life I thought I was supposed to live is no longer my choice. And that is, in the natural, very disappointing. I wanted to be this, my dreams, my goals, my aspirations. I wanted to be all these things, and to realize that they may not align with what God planned for me. And that could be very disappointing and hurtful. Last August, I was super heartbroken because I wanted to pursue 2 graduate degrees. Anybody who knew me, I was, I can't go to school because of financial aid. I felt like I was nothing. I had put so much into pursuing my degrees. I really felt like they were my validation. I thought my degrees said a lot. I knew I grew, where I was like, yes, God, I do want my degrees. I do want to finish my master's degrees. I do. I put a lot of work, commitment, and love into my education, and I wanted to see it through. But now, if that's not what you want for me, so be it. Maybe not right now. I don't know. I don't know. I got real comfortable, and I don't know. Anybody who knows me, listen to me say I don't know. I genuinely do not know. I just got real comfortable. They be like, how you gonna do it? I don't know. I mean, I pray for blind faith, to trust God even when I don't understand. So, if I don't understand, I'm real I don't know. I don't know. If he wanted to tell me, he would. But he has done more than enough to show me and to prove to me that he got me covered. I trust God enough to know that if it's what he wants, it'll happen. Even if it's not right now, and if not, he has a greater plan for me. I submit my will and my flesh to the will of God. Like David said in Psalm 16, 5 through 6, God, you hold my future, and I choose God as my inheritance. God, your glory is my reward, which brings me to what is to come, because there is something coming. The first symptom of consecration is restoration. Everything I lost, God will begin to restore it. Like, heaven is happy to restore things. I don't think you guys realize that. That whatever the devil stole from me, and I don't just mean monetary things, joy, peace, anointings, I demand it all back. Yes, I'm going to need that back in Jesus' name. All of it. Because now I can be trusted to use it all unselfishly and for whatever God needs me to. I think people tend to forget, like, you can, the spirit, the gifts that God is giving you in a period of time, he can take from you. Like, you're not using it for what I gave it to you for. So I'm going to take that because you decided to still hold hands with the enemy. And he's allowing it to be stolen from you. But once you consecrate, once you say unselfishly, God, your will, not mine, he'd be like, okay, you good. Here you go. I'm going to give it all back to you. You don't start over from the beginning. Like, he gives it back to you. So, yeah. That was my journey this week in becoming consecrating and realizing I don't want what I want for me. I want what God wants for me. And truthfully, it's like so relaxing and comfy in this chair. Like, oh, it feels so good to not have to worry about myself. Like, God, you got it. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, yeah. Any feedback? I know this was a fairly long one, but I'm always open to insight, some feedback. Let me know what you think. Becoming Restored is next. I've been waiting to get this one out for quite some time, and I'm like super excited. So wait out for that one. Please catch up on any past ones because it's a good one. I love you guys, and if please let me know what you think. I like getting feedback about what you guys hear, read, whatever. I appreciate you in advance, and have a good day. Yeah, have a good day. Thank you.